Welcome to Slow Home Studio. Too many people live in badly designed houses, and we want to change that.
It is Wednesday, June the 8th, and today we're going to be talking about green roofs. We're actually going to be following up on a project that we looked at a little while ago, the Euclid House by Levitt Goodman Architects, and expand that into a more general discussion about green roof technology.
Yeah, so here's an image of that house, and this was an infill house in Toronto, and it was very captivating in the images because it had all these beautiful pictures of the planting on the roof. And of course, that's a whole system that you can install on either a flat or a pitched roof. And this is an example of an extensive green roof, and we'll talk about what an extensive green roof is. And it's drought-tolerant planting. It's not walkable, so it's something that you look at, but you can't actually get out onto.
And there's lots of benefits to a green roof. It reduces heat loss because you've actually got extra insulation within that. It increases the roof lifespan because you don't have the fluctuations in temperature in the roof structure itself or the membrane. Reduces stormwater, rainwater runoff. That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
It's a major one, so you don't have that downpour out of your downspouts. When it rains, the roof holds that. I'm going to talk about that at the very end because that's something you have to also be careful about. Creates habitat for birds and other wildlife, reduces the energy consumption because it obviously keeps the building warm, and it's beautiful to look at.
So there's all sorts of advantages to going with a green roof system. There's two types you need to be aware of. There's one called intensive and there's one called extensive, and the real difference between them is how thick the layer of dirt is on the roof. So if it's more than 6 inches, it's considered intensive, and that allows a whole bunch of different plants, and you can walk on it. However, most residential projects are going to be looking at an extensive roof system, which is less than 6 inches of soil, which means it's visually something you can look at, but it's not walkable.
That's right. So the 6 inches of soil, that's a lot of growing medium. If you start to get into that level, it does allow you to walk on it so that you can start using it. It does have a whole other level of cost, both to the structure itself as well as to access, because suddenly you've got to put up guardrails.
Yeah, absolutely. So a green roof is layered construction, and there's 3 basic layers that you need to be aware of. This is actually a photograph of a project that we're building ourselves right now, our first green roof.
Thank you.
We're excited. So the first layer is obviously the waterproofing and the insulation. So it's done typically like a normal flat roof assembly. But then you go to the second layer, and there's actually this drainage and storage layer, which are like the cups at the bottom of the little pans that you take the plants home from the nursery. And that's what is the base for the growing medium and the filter fabric. And then on top of that, all the plantings are installed.
Right, usually sedums and succulents, things that don't require watering and that are just basically ground cover, that sort of thing. We actually saw that last year when we were looking at the Cherokee Lofts.
Yeah, absolutely, and I was really impressed when we were up there because they actually had a walking part that had guardrails, and then beyond that, towards the roof edge, was the planted section. So it was like sort of walking around a garden.
So remember, there's lots of options. Green roofs are probably one of the most visible kinds of sustainability things that you can do. It is something to look at, but it's you have to be very careful if you are going to be considering one of these because it does add a considerable load to your roof. You have to be very careful about that.
You need an engineer to look at it.
See you tomorrow.
If you're interested in learning more about the principles of slow home design, you can pick up a copy of our book entitled What's Wrong with This House? It's a practical guide to finding a well-designed and sustainable home. It's available for sale on the Slow Home Studio website. It's also available for sale at Amazon.com in both paperback and the Kindle format.